Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. Just tell me when we're ready.
We're ready. We're ready.
Okay. Okay. We were ready. We're not. Okay, welcome everyone. We are so delighted that you found your way to the Sacred Wisdom Circle. Linked by the golden thread, we are lighthouses, beacons of truth, guiding the way through deep conversations and shared wisdom. We illuminate the path and heal through truth. So thank you for joining us and being with us today. Hi, I'm Angela from Johannesburg and from the Business Yogi. There we go.
Welcome. I'm so excited. I'm sad Janice isn't here today, but
Yeah.
she's currently adventuring.
Adventuring and working her magic elsewhere.
She sure is.
Involved in a retreat on a mountain. Kind of jealous.
I am. Mount Shasta's on my bucket list.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
Yeah.
Maybe we could all meet there someday.
Oh, wouldn't that be incredible?
That'd
That'd be amazing. Amazing.
So how are you ladies been this week? What's going on?
I have to say that for me, time is just, I don't even know what it is anymore. I kind of go, oh, it's actually Friday today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm on another planet. It is so funny. I don't know if you're finding the same thing with time, that it's doing its curving thing. It's not linear anymore. I think we spoke about it a little bit last week, but I found that it's been, even this week, it's been, oh, where did that week go? It's just gone.
Well, there was a whole month of June. Like, really, it was
Yeah.
like, why are we already into July? What happened here? What are we missing?
Oh,
I think it makes it also when we're not really focused on time that it seems like when we do, it's like, holy heck, where did that go to? Right. Because I think, I mean, I have to look at time a little bit when I'm scheduling people, but I don't put a lot of energy to that, right? Ebb and flows, and I don't get stressed out if somebody's not on time or any of those kinds of things. It's just a guideline, is the way that I like to look at it nowadays,
yeah.
right? And a little more free flowing.
Yeah, much, and it's like time is bending. It's not like it's this, kind of, and I think part of this is also the joy that we have to work for ourselves, where we're not ruled by somebody else's clock. That makes it a whole lot more flexible and a whole lot. I think I was talking to somebody about it the other day. The wealth of time abundance when we work for ourselves is just something else. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but just traffic wise, saving the time in the traffic every day adds
Oh my gosh.
a few hours to my day.
You
Compared
don't
to
really
having,
think about it though. When you're like, I noticed it for me at least, and sorry to interrupt, but it was just like that whole timepiece. It wasn't until it actually hit me the other day too, of like, it's been almost 5 years I've been working self-employed. So I'm like, it's just I never noticed that whole extra hour I get back. Half an hour. It was just only half an hour in and half an hour out for me, but
yeah. So that, when we speak about abundance, that for me is it's priceless. The fact that I can set my own timetable, set my own clock, that I have so much more, I wouldn't say necessarily mastery, but certainly a lot more deliberate in terms of how I utilize time, because I have this abundance of time at my disposal, which is something that's really, and yeah, for anybody out there who's listening to us, who's wanting to kind of get onto the bandwagon and become, and start their own soulpreneur business, well, you've got lots of people in your corner that can help you, starting with this this sacred circle. So,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Let's move through the constructs that we've all been born with and then be able to step into a new way of being. And that often leads to the soul entrepreneur. There is no doubt about that. So yeah, you've got the tools with people here, that's for sure, if you want to make the changes and the steps. So it's that whole element of looking at where you're at. What is it that you really want?
yeah.
I love the balance. I love that I don't have to work hard anymore. I love that anything that I'm putting in and investing is for me. It's
Yep.
not for someone else. And there is such a joy and a freedom in that.
Absolutely. I remember I was just thinking, you cast my mind back to when I first was gifted the vision of what this portal looks like. The portal that Business Yogi is part of. Because it's not mine, it comes through us. And I think we always acknowledge the fact that this work comes through us, not by us. But I just remember back to when it first came through, and I don't know, one of my guys is here, my eye's leaking, always does this one. And just how, I mean, this goes back to 2002. Just how, when I started out, people were going, "Oh, this is too new agey. People are not going to want to, not going to want to engage." I don't know I mean, how long you've been working with it, but going all that way back, going, how can you call your business 7 generations? Because that's what it was called at the time. Way too new agey. Corporate people are never going to respond to it. And at the time, they were right. But I think what we're seeing now is how the energies are shifting and how much more the timing is. I mean, I don't know, maybe time, Chronos and time is just around us today. How much timing is so much more a part of the way things unfold. And looking back, for me, a lot of it was the old messaging was, "Oh, well, it wasn't working, so therefore I'm failing." Well, no. With the wisdom that I have today, I can see that each piece was a step along the path in terms of getting us to the readiness of where we are today, and how the four of us connected, and the timing of that. I mean, wow. Okay, so I'll shut up now.
No, well, that's okay. And then, so that's the way it's meant to unfold. Like you said, I know there's times when I'm sitting here going, well, and I'm sure people that as you come into this space as a spiritual being and having your spiritual awakening, you come into this space and you're like, oh, there, you connect with some people and you feel like, you want to spend all your time here and do all, like, that's definitely part of usually from the people I've had conversations with, it's part of the initiation of you come in and you're like, oh, I want to know more and go like swallow it all. But then it's like you find the right people to get around and then you hear it a lot. And then it's like, for me, one of the aha moments, even just in the last couple of months, has been like, there's still, and not to say like there's a whole bunch of people that aren't there yet, but it's still in a process of waking up. And there's still a huge majority that haven't yet, or that are working into that now. And that's why. And so it's like those of us that have already come here and have had that part of the journey are here to, like you said, this is the right circle to be around or listening to, because we are the ones, and not just us, there's more, but there is this people that are here to help bring it in every different aspect, and every single person is the right one as long as it's the right fit for you. But just know that there's a support here for you, because those of us that came first, and I know some have been around longer than others, and it wasn't easy. But if you can have support in the process, my gosh, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yep. And also, I think a big thing, when I hand over to Pam now, I think the big thing is around this as well is when you're doing it on your own, which many of us have done to get to where we are, and but make no mistake, there's no point of arrival. We don't get to the end of the journey. In fact, I'm learning that the more I know, the less I know. So being that continual being open to learning. But I think the thing that you are articulating so well, Alana, is the fact that to do it on your own is freaking hard. It is really, really hard. And so I'm grateful for these kinds of communities that we connect with today, where we're no longer on our own, we're journeying together. And if I could say anything to anybody who wants to start out, make sure that you get into a community, and get into a community quickly, because it's going to really help you to navigate what can be a very challenging, very difficult path if you're walking it alone.
And that is so true. I mean, I had been walking, I want to say, past a very lone wolf kind of lifestyle, living my life, but never feeling like I fit in anywhere. And I'm sure that a lot of us have experienced that. And I know a lot of people right now, so you in the audience, that are probably feeling that way. And that's a really good sign that you're stepping into a new way of being, but that it's not for the faint of heart. And we have pioneered the way. And there's a lot of people that, yes, get into your community, get into what is aligned with you, but you're also going to learn that what you think is aligned with you might not actually be aligned with you. Like, it's a real journey in itself, but there's no good or bad or right or wrong. It is really all about the experience and what you're taking from it. And I absolutely love that now. I've been wanting a collective for years. And so it's that element of it's finally come into fruition. And I have found for myself, forgive me if you hear the noise in the background, that's my partner coming in on his motorcycle.
I hear him at all.
Don't hear him.
Oh, good. That's awesome. So it's that whole element of knowing that the pioneers had to go through it in that way to really understand everything so that we're better able to guide the people that through their own experiences. I think that's the biggest component, is that like, I love that I've been to events and it's like they're preaching to the choir. I've been there, seen it, done it, and heard it. But it's that element, they're only talking to people who are actually already kind of there. And it's like, okay, we need to get out. And that's what I think we're doing, is getting out to more of the masses of people from that wisdom place and from the lived experience place as well, to be able to say, okay, people, here we are, take what works for you, leave the rest behind, because not everything's going to resonate in the moment. It may take you to have an experience for you to go, oh, that's what they were talking about, because
Right.
we are beings of experience.
Yeah. I think one of
So
the
true.
things that, as you were talking, that struck me in the last couple of weeks was, because I also carried, this baggage that we carry around with us. I also kind of carried that around for very many, many, many years, of feeling like I never fitted in anywhere. And no matter how hard I try to twist myself into that pretzel to fit into, is how much I didn't fit in. And Spirit said to me the other day, you weren't meant to.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was a different take on it. Because you were meant to be doing what you're doing. You were meant to walking this walk. You were meant to be on that outside, not looking in, being on the outside, carving a new journey, carving a new path. That is what you're meant to be doing. Just like that, with that realization, so much of that baggage just fell away completely.
Mm.
And now it's also coming home to who we are within our own selves. And the more we are at home with who we are, the less whatever anybody else thinks of what we're doing, who we are, whether we woo or what, is like water off a duck's back, because we are so much more attuned and aligned with our own truth. And to get there requires a lot of work. And it's so rewarding to be able to stand in that truth again.
But it
I was
doesn't, like, we talked about being hard and we talked about it's a long journey and all of these things. But again, just if you find that space or find that ability to be able to tap into some people, or like you said, even just listening along to what we're sharing, and because it's a fun journey. And like you said, it's never done anyway. We're going to continue on the journey. We're going to continue to expand and grow in the consciousness. And I had this conversation with somebody the other day where it was like, it was limiting in my mind of like, we're not everybody's going to get there, or, well, I know that, at this, like, everybody gets to, in their, when they come here, their lifetime, that they get to choose to, if this is where they get to have that experience or not. But I don't know. I feel like there's more to that, like that there's more to that expansion as we continue forward in the world. That maybe that's getting really deep into it, but
And I agree with you, Elena. I mean, if you think about when we're telling ourselves that it's hard, that's the construct that we're feeding ourselves, and we'll believe it. There is an element of when we come to an understanding and an acceptance that life in its experiences can be hard for our learning. But our perspective is what's most important.
Yeah.
It can be either hard or it can be exciting. It can be fun. It can be anything that we want it to be. But the constructs, again, that's one of those constructs. It has to be hard in order to, growth has to be hard. No, it doesn't have to be hard. It can be any one of the things that we choose. So Are we still feeding an old construct, or are we stepping into an acceptance and a way of being? So if any of you are out there saying, you know, this journey is hard, take a step back, take a breath, and go, okay, so what is it teaching you? What do you need to learn from it? And how can you accept and make peace with the challenges? Because that's a big component. Just making peace that we're going to go through experiences makes a huge difference in our approach.
There's also the fact that feelings are going to come up. And feelings, if we don't acknowledge the feelings, if we don't allow them to, or allow ourselves to move through the feelings and to get to the other side of those feelings, the fear is going to come up, the anxiety is going to come up, the excitement, the wonder, the joy, all of these multitude of emotions are going to come up. And what the construct has told us not to feel. The construct has told us to push those feelings down, to go into our head and try and make intellectual sense of what's going on. And that's when the spinning really starts, is because we're not honoring ourselves in the moment of the feelings that are surfacing.
Absolutely.
The purpose of the emotion and the feelings are to feel, right? Like you said, we've been taught a lot of the places is like, we don't need, put it aside, set it down, suppress it. And if the purpose that we came here for this human experience was to experience it and all of the emotions, every one of them. And we feel like that there's, again, it's the story we tell behind each of those emotions. So it's like anxiety and excitement are the same vibration, but they're very much, it's the story we tell behind it that gives it the different feeling between the two. So it's like, what if we, like you said, that's so brilliant of like, what if we were just here to experience all of the feelings and allow the feelings to pass through and not try, I know from my own journey, that's been something I'm trying to do before. Even in the coaching world, it's like that toxic positivity of like, just change it to being positive and change it, like just choose something different. But it's like, no, we're here to experience it all. And each one of them is telling us something. So if we really truly pay attention to all those feelings, we'll understand it better. And that's all the feeling is expecting. It's not like we need to suppress it and be like, blah. But anyway.
And that goes back to the constructs. That goes back to the fact that we're taught to judge the emotions, right? Good or bad or right or wrong. No, there is value in every single emotion. It's being able to accept every single emotion and then sit with it. What we often do is suppress it, push it away, because that's what we were taught to do. And it comes back and it rears its ugly head like a pendulum. When you push it away, you can only push it so far. And it's going to come back and it's going to smack you in the face, right? So it's being able to go, okay, that construct of good and bad and right and wrong doesn't work, especially with our feelings. You know, and one of the simple things, like if we're in the more challenging emotions, I'm going to call them, right, the less pleasant ones, it's an element of understanding that we're choosing those. We're choosing all of our emotions when we're going through it. They're not bigger than us, separate from us, or stronger than us. It's our own narratives that fuel them and actually make them last longer. But it's being able to turn around and go, okay, I'm in this, you know, not so nice place or not so pleasant place. What is something that I can shift it to that's more pleasant, that the vibration's a little bit higher, right? It doesn't mean dismissing. It just means, okay, I can start to make choice. I can acknowledge this is where I'm at, but is this where I want to stay? Is this where I want to be? And then moving it forward into something that, whether it's even something as simple as a memory that, you know, just resonates and aligns with you and brings you into that appreciation, brings you into that joy, right? That loving state. Like for people, when working with them, it's helping them to understand that it is that simple. Acknowledge what you've got going on, but recognize that you're the one that's fueling it or keeping it going.
The construct has been created so that it pathologizes feelings and emotions, especially ones that are so-called negative. And for me, the thing is, it's just like almost holding it in my hand and going, okay, I'm feeling you. What are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
What am I here to learn from you? I'm not going to dismiss you. I'm not suppressing you. I'm acknowledging, I'm acknowledging I'm actually loving you for what it is that you're going to teach me. And then keep quiet and wait and let it reveal itself to you in terms of what it's here to share and teach you. It's taken me a very long time to get to that point where I'm able to deal with the emotions in that way. So this is not, there's no such thing as a spiritual bypass. And one of the things that people do on this, you know, especially early in their journey, and I've done it, so, and I'll put my hand up, early on is that we want to do the spiritual bypass around uncomfortable emotions. That's what we want to do, thinking that it's going to fix us. And as Pamela says, the pendulum is going to swing. The boomerang is going to come back. And over and above that, it's also going to show itself in physical illness and physical ailments, because it's got to go somewhere. And if we're suppressing it, it'll find its way to have its expression.
Absolutely correct. I'm a big believer in that, always have been. Our physical, I think that therapy, you know, alternative forms of therapy, in all honesty, should be a go-to before a medical doctor. I know that sounds really funny, but I think because of the fact that our physical ailments are a direct result of the emotional and mental baggage that we have acquired in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nobody's fault. It's all there for learning, but we weren't taught about that. And you're right, Angela, even for me, it took a long time to understand the emotional aspect and the purpose behind it, and that I don't have to put so much weight into it, right? It's accepting and acknowledging. But that's why we're here, to help those of you who are on the journey, feeling the gamut of emotions. We can all help you in some way, shape, or form make sense of it. It's not about knowing why, because that takes us right back to a 5-year-old survival state. We don't always need to know why. We just need to understand it in the moment. And it's about bringing it back to just this moment.
It's so bang on. I just want to say too, there, like we're speaking it not because we're saying we're better than. We've all been through it. That's why we can sit here and say this, that it's like we've gone through the experience. So that's what we're sharing, right? So it's that, like, we had to go through the hard, and this is why we're trying to make it easier for you by sharing of it doesn't need to be and it, like, holding on to the suffering. Our body tends to hold on to the comfort of, even if it's suffering. And so we stay in those states because it's what we know. And getting the reason why we resist the feeling, like you said earlier, is the fact that it's uncomfortable. And our body is in such resistance to getting out of that comfort zone, even though it's suffering, even though it doesn't feel good, even though whatever, it is better that to be in the suffering of, like, anger, frustration, depression, all of these other emotions that we're feeling, these lower, what has been deemed negative emotions. We try to avoid them by, like you said, bypassing or the positivity or switching. And it's those things that, like has already been mentioned, that we learn from. But I'm not gonna fly in my face. But the thing is that we need to sit in those discomfort. Our growth, our understanding, our awareness is in that discomfort. Even though it's a negative emotion, the more we experience it, the more we will understand, like we said, and that's the listening. And we are so, again, I couldn't sit still to meditate for most of my life. Like, even when I started this journey, I was like, somebody told me I needed to meditate, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm 30 seconds in, am I done yet? Like, I couldn't sit still. My brain was on my to-do list. Like, and it takes a little time, but it's the same thing as working out. It's a practice. But we are the society that's plugged into, like, all the cell phones and all the things, being still and being quiet is a practice we have lost. So meditation is just one way, like, to listen, but it's sitting with these feelings and listening to what it's telling us. That's a gift that we've always had, but we've been control or
Indoctrinated.
yes, to be that we need to be controlled by these things, and we're now just overwhelmed by all the things that are coming at us that we can't even who even goes to the bathroom anymore without their cell phone and needing to, like, understand what's going on in the world.
Well, and that started with childhood. Think about it. If
Yeah.
you weren't doing something, you were lazy, right?
Yep.
And
Or
our
you're getting
whole
in trouble.
society has been about doing, we would get into trouble. And
Busy
there
hands
is
or
such,
like idle hands, devil's plaything. Sorry, like those types of
yeah,
mentalities.
there's such a value in just relaxation, that stillness of relaxation, right? You don't have to meditate, because in that relaxation, you're probably meditating. When you're
Anyway,
gazing at the clouds, it's a form of meditation, right? Children do this all the time and we get in trouble for it. Stop gazing out of the window, right? So it's that whole element of just being present, right? And giving yourself the permission to relax.
there's the beauty of, and for me, it's become a very, very sacred space, is the beauty of the pause.
Yeah.
That's where we find our connection to source. And if we're not going into that space of relaxation, if we're not going, and again, you don't have to be sitting on the mountainside contemplating your navel to actually connect with source at all. You know, it's around the fact that we get to, if we just create that space for pause. And one of the things that I have been using as a tool for quite a while now, a few months now, maybe a little bit longer, is just putting the question out to the universe and then leaving it and letting it go and carrying on with other things that I'm not doing, or getting on with other things that need to get done. And the most miraculous things start happening, because once I'm not attached to the situation, the circumstance, or the question, once I've seeded it out in the universe, the answers that come go way beyond anything that I could have ever conceived of myself, ever. And so the value of this incredibly beautiful space of the pause, and it's when you start to work with it in the beginning, it's so counterintuitive, because we have been so ingrained to be doing. And if we're not on this, forget about just being on the gym treadmill. If we're not on the life treadmill, then we're not going to get to where we need to go. We're not going to be successful. All these external constraints and judgments that we heap upon ourselves. And there's no freedom in that. Absolutely none. And so the thing that I've really come to value is the question of the pause.
And prayer used to be a time for that.
Such a good
right?
point.
Prayer used to be a time for that. But what happened is people were praying for the same thing over and over. Well, if you're praying over and over, you're not having any trust and faith in the universe. You're not giving it the pause that you're talking about, Angela, to allow the universe to answer, show up, co-create with us. But I think, honestly, is where prayer was very valuable, even though people didn't understand, or maybe understand it in the way that we do now. So it's that element of, don't pray for the same things. And also be careful, don't pray for strength, because the universe will just give you situations to show you and prove to you how strong you really are.
Right.
Right? Pray for
Again,
growth,
speaking from
pray for
experience.
understanding and patience. Those kinds of things are great, but don't pray for strength. You'll be in trouble.
Yeah. Like you said,
I
or
think-
patience. You'll just take
Yeah.
getting things you need to be patient about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that you were talking about earlier on a little bit, Pam, was that you were talking about the why. But I'm discovering that the more important question is the who. It's not about why, it's about who. And that sense of remembering, not even becoming, it's remembering who we are, not who we were, who we are, and getting in touch with that. And that for me has been way more powerful. Yes, the why is important. We all know that we're here for a purpose. I'm not dismissing that. But it's the more pivotal question I've discovered is the who. And that's sorry, Alana.
No, that's okay. I thought you were done there. So I apologize for jumping in. What I was going to say was, though, is that's one of the things that I included in my, like, again, I find in the professional development world is people talk about higher self and this other self and whatever. And one of the things that I like when I created my program was that I shifted from all of that, because for me, it created a gap. When I was talking about the future self or this higher self or this person I'm becoming, it's like, it's this remembering that we're currently in, right? And it's when I shifted, it's like, who is the truest self? Because this is the self we've been. It's a remembering. It's this version that we've been, who we've been meant to be since we were born.
And that's ever evolving too. As
Correct.
we as we gain more wisdom, as we gain more insights, as we gain more of the, I guess, the messaging from the divine. So we're ever evolving and ever changing, and on purpose and on point, even when we don't think we are. You know,
Always,
I look back at my
yeah,
life and it's like,
I,
man, oh man, I was worked with and through much more than what I was even remotely aware of.
I love the analogy of in the metaphysical learning from the swan and how she glides upon the surface of the water so gracefully, but underneath the water, her legs are doing this, paddling as she's moving along. And that being able to move through life with grace is part of our remembering. And it's such a special space to be because it's really, and I think you were alluding to it earlier on, the polarities of the good and bad, or the right or wrong, and all of that judgy stuff that we come across all the time. And one of the lessons that we're all here to learn is to really right size and bring into balance the duality of the opposites. And to be able to be in that space. It's right in that center point of where the pendulum comes to rest.
Neutrality.
Instead of being in that either or.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting, very interesting journey.
Those judgments really are, again, they're all on the same continuum of experiences, good or bad, right or wrong, anxiety versus excitement, right? Anger and hatred versus love. They're all on the same, like there's that fine line or that center point, right? That's where we want to be. Absolutely. The neutrality is, I think, the word that comes to mind for that, right? Neutrality and balance.
I think the Buddhists refer to it as equanimity, being in that space of absolute equanimity, which is just, and that's where peace is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the serenity and the tranquility is, as opposed to this continual up and down roller coaster all over the place with all the chaos and drama. And particularly in the turbulent times that we're in at the moment, where there is so much of a shift going on, and the old construct is holding on for dear freaking life to maintain its status quo.
Well,
And
it's doing that just for status quo, but it's also being more extreme to awaken people further, because some people need it more extreme, right? In order to come to this awareness of, being able to master our emotions, being able to be in this place that no matter what's going on around you, no matter what drama is going around you, you don't have to be rattled by it. Someone can say something, you don't have to be rattled by it, but we are a work in progress getting there, right? And it can be as blissful or as difficult as we want it to be.
absolute. Another one of I love the Native American Indian teachings, and as you've heard me say this before, often, one of the other things that I really love is how they utilize the energy of animals and plants and things as what they refer to as medicine. And so the medicine of the snake shedding its skin. And there are places and times when, as we shed a skin, we're going to feel raw, we're going to feel vulnerable, we're going to go through all of those things, because what's actually happened, and going back to what Alana was saying, is we've gone through a growth cycle and we've shed an old identity. And so in doing so, we will feel those feelings of rawness and vulnerability. And then it's a case of, getting used to this new persona, this new me that's emerging out of the old narratives that I've dropped, the old stories that are no longer defining who I am. It's glorious. It's wonderful.
It is.
It's funny because I was sitting here as we're talking about it, is like, there's also this, we can get, again, a little into the weeds, or depending upon your belief about shifting of timelines. There's a lot of people that are experiencing feelings, especially right now with like the solar flares and what is it called? The remnants, or the word isn't coming to me.
Sherman resonance.
Yeah, the Sherman resonance. That's it.
Schumann resonance. Yes.
Schumann. Yeah. Anyway, and all of these things. So there's energies that are shifting. Like there's this, like we obviously talked about the awakening and shifting that's happening, but just moving into this. What does that look like? What does that feel like for people? And it's going to feel different for a variety of people. Like feeling drained, feeling tired, feeling like dizzy, feeling like there's all these different feelings that are going to come into your body just from like the energy that's shifting and the
Or waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning and not being able to go to sleep again.
all the time.
Well, there is such things as the Ascension symptoms, which are often very similar to flu symptoms, right? So I encourage people, you get a chance, do a little bit of research on just Ascension symptoms. You'll be blown away. But it also might help you to better understand maybe something you're going through, right? Because these are not something that's out in the mainstream, for sure. But it's valuable information, especially for people who are starting to question, right? Who are wanting to look at things just that little bit differently. So it aligns with them a little bit better.
So
And
what
if you're
would you
curious,
say?
it's like there's a reason for that. Explore it. Sorry, carry on.
No. I was going to just say to you, so this is something that we can also just share with people who are listening to what we are transmitting, because it is a transmission. What would you say was the kind of, not the wake up call, the question? For me, it was a question, and it came down to purpose. And for a lot of people, they are, especially since COVID, are asking that question: is there has to be something more? What is it that there's got to be something more than the humdrum existence that I keep going through every single day? And that was a kind of the lead-in questions for me. And so maybe it'll be helpful if we kind of share with you you are what, try that again. Maybe it'll be useful if we share what those initial questions were that we came across that brought us onto our path.
I don't know, but I feel like that question that you just said, I think is the most universal question that we all have. I used to work in a community where we didn't speak about spiritual awakening specifically, but it was people when they were feeling like wanted to do something bigger or something more, they wanted to shift in their life. And that's literally the question, is that what came to everybody when I calls with people was literally, I just have this feeling of more. I literally called my podcast that feeling of more because of that, because it's about that first question of expansion, of what's going on in my life doesn't seem like all there is to it. So what else is there? But I feel like I'm being called for something more is 100% the question that most people from my experience have had. Like that was definitely it for me, but
I was going to say the exact same thing. Like for me, I remember being a young mom in a marriage, working full time, coming home to the kids and going, there has to be something more.
yeah.
I mean, that was in my 20s. And needless to say, in my 30s, things started to change. The marriage ended, lots of stepping out of the abuse and the things that I experienced. But I just had this, there has to be something more. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. Years later, working a full-time job, just before I got my house, it was still, again, that question that I felt something bigger was going to be happening. And again, couldn't put my finger on it, but just kept living my life and moving through everything. And I ended up buying a house that year, unexpectedly. Didn't know how I was going to buy a house. I had the car accident, in 2017, and that car accident was an activator. All right, what's the universe trying to tell me? And the first thing that came to mind when I asked that question was change directions, which is exactly what I did, which is what has led me to where I am today. So those questions, I think what Alana said is it is a universal. There's got to be something more. And it's a calling. It's a knowing within the body. It's not a analytical kind of question. It's just this knowing within the body. And that, I think, is our soul speaking to us through us.
It's your soul asking for further understanding and awareness. It literally is that. And it's funny that you say that. It's like, when we have this, oh shoot, there was a thought that came in as you were expressing that and it totally just left me. But it's funny because we feel like we try to logic it out, like you said, of like trying to create logic behind it, but it nags in the background. And it's the same thing as our intuition. A lot of people don't understand. I know when I started my journey as well, I'm like, I didn't quite know what intuition was. I was expecting this big booming voice to give me, or a big flashing sign to give me direction. But it's the same thing. It's this behind nagging thing, this little bit of a voice in the background that's just kind of like, I feel like I know that. And it's that little voice that's back there is one, your intuition, but it's also this, your soul speaking to you to expand, to grow, to know.
And that's again where the pause comes in. If we don't stop long enough, we're not going to hear it. We're so busy with the noise that we actually overshout and overshadow that voice that's already saying, hello, hello. The pivotal moment for me, I don't know if you guys have read it, but one of the pivotal moments, in fact, a very strong pivotal moment for me was in when I read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl's book. Unbelievable book. That was I must have read it when I was about 32, 33 for the first time. And his book, his whole school of logotherapy came out of his experience in the concentration camps. And part of what kind of created a lot of fascination for him was how did some people survive and how were others not surviving through some of the most atrocious times in the history of mankind. And he studied those people, and what he found was that those people who were able to see something beyond their current set of circumstances, either family that had gone to to America, or they saw something bigger than themselves beyond that, was what kept them going. And that for me was probably one of those moments where, hello, tap me on the shoulder, because sometimes those insights and that knowing comes from something we've read, something we've seen. It could be a line in a movie. There are very, very, very many ways that our soul is speaking to us, but if we're not quiet, we're going to miss its whisper.
Well, and it's a practice, again, similar to like what I said about meditation, of just that listening. It's something we've been conditioned to not listen. We've spent all of our life being conditioned to find the answers outside of ourselves. And mom and dad know the right answer. Not that that's wrong, but like that's what we've been taught. And then we became students, and then the teacher had the right answer. And then we became employees, and then the boss had the answer. Everybody else outside of us has had the answer. So we've never been conditioned to listen to that inner voice, to listen to that intuition, that inner guidance, to pause. It's not an experience that we've been taught. We get taught all kinds of history and all kinds of math and all kinds of all this other stuff, but the essential piece of who we are, we have no idea. And then we hit this point where we're in our like 30s, 40s, whatever. And it's like, who am I? What's going on here? Isn't that so interesting?
Yes, it is. And wisdom we're born with. We have the intellect and the wisdom already. It is literally our human experiences that help to awaken that wisdom. Not, oh, you don't know anything until you go to school. No, we know a lot even before school.
Yep.
It's this human experience, and the schooling, again, is that following the indoctrination of doing as you're told, right? Not everybody is supposed to learn the exact same way, in the exact same fashion. We all come with our own skill sets. We all come with our own knowledge and wisdom, and it's not going to look the same, which is part and parcel so that we can come together in community and build. If everybody's doing the same thing in the same way, we're not going to build a community together. And I think that's what's lovely about what we're doing here, is we are coming in with different skill sets. We are coming in with our own understanding. A lot of it is very much aligned, and I think that's purposeful. I think that is exactly what the universe is showing when we get to that place, that there is more similarities than there are differences in amongst humanity. I really do believe that, and I think this is representative of that. But it's that element of stepping into understanding you have a wisdom. I remember using words that I don't even know how or where I learned them from. I had to go and look them up to make sure that I was using them in the right context. And I did, and I was like, okay, where did that come from? right? But again, that's the intellect, that's the wisdom that we've gained from the many lifetimes before and from the collective consciousness, right? That now I'm able to use without going to a book to use it, right? And I know that other people have probably had those kinds of experiences and have gone like, what's going on? That's actually your wisdom and your soul at work for you.
And the construct that's breaking down is the production economy construct, where that's what the schooling systems have been created to do, is to create production line workers.
Yep.
Yes.
Who don't question, who don't ask. I mean, typically speaking, I don't know if you do it, it's the same for you guys, but here teachers mark books with red pens, and you see all the crosses and the, you know, all the comments and the, how punitive that becomes and how polarizing that becomes. And the whole system that's set up for the A students and the overachievers and all of those things. And so often the community-based child is ignored. The person who has that kind of service, you know, the serving mentality or the serving archetype is ignored because they're not the overachiever. And all the stuff that's fraught within the schooling system as it is, because we can't be creating and teaching our children to live in an economy that is collapsing, which is the production line economy. It's not functioning anymore. It functioned for a while, but we've transcended, we've moved past that. And so all of these systems are needing to be not revised, revisited, remembered. The systems need to be remembered in terms of the truth of what they always have been, that were suppressed. And where did they come from? Primarily from the beautiful feminine energies that have been suppressed for centuries.
Mm.
And it's funny because you spoke about the being of service. I know my first active that I remember of being of service was at 6 or 7 years of age. That service element, when I got into the working age, do you know how often I heard I was overzealous? Because I was passionate about what I was doing. And you're not supposed to be too passionate about anything. And I was like, what? Like I would get penalized for that, right?
You're too much, you're too big, you're all those things.
And I was like, oh, wow, no, I love that I have a passion. And especially when I have found my way of remembering who I am. Now I'm unapologetically, either you like it or you don't. And if you don't let the door hit you on the way out. Right.
Well, and even when we look at society today, right? Like all the things that are coming, like when we're adding like ADHD and ADD and all these different names to things, the human is evolving and changing. And I mean, this is like when I was a kid, you didn't hear about all of that, like maybe, yes, some, but not nearly to the extent that we see now. But the human is evolving and changing, and we in this construct don't understand it. So we give it a label of ADHD or whatever, even though they're gifted and they are more connected and they're more understanding than they've ever been. Right?
Creative. Yep.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's so funny to watch how we're sitting there going, oh, let's give this another label. Let's medicate it. Let's fit it back into the box it was supposed to fit in. Why does it not fit into the box?
And yet it's only a creative mind that, again, when you look at creation and co-creation, these folks are coming in to rattle things and bring it back into that creation component. It's an exciting time.
Yep. And the souls that are incarnating now, I mean, it started really in the 60s with the hippies.
Yeah.
The indigo vibration, the people who are vibrating at the frequency of the indigo, the crystal children, the star seeds, all of these. And what do? We define them as ADHD, autistic, they're on the spectrum, because we have to make sense of it out of a mental construct as opposed to a vibrational energy and a frequency that these beautiful souls are coming in, who are going to be the purveyors of the future. They are here to seed the future. That's what they're here for. And this is also why a circle like this becomes so important, to hold space for that instead of the labeling and the pathologizing, because that's what makes other people comfortable, because they don't want other people to be different.
Acceptance and love, unconditional love for humanity.
Absolute. Absolutely. So yeah.
It's such a beautiful conversation.
Oh, this was been an amazing conversation. Sorry Janice wasn't here because I know she would have had a lot to interject too.
Yes.
But sending her love and glad she's out having some fun.
Yep. And I'm sure she's going to be coming back and sharing a whole heap with us in terms of her experience at Mount Shasta.
Oh, I can't wait to hear.
So are you ready to close us off, Angela?
I am. Let me just get it up. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us. As the circle closes for now, the light remains, not just here, but within you. Let these teachings echo through your being like the lighthouse calls over the sea, steady, unwavering, and sovereign. Share with us what touched your soul. Subscribe if you feel the call, but always remember, you are the light, you are the way, and the circle will be here when you need to return. Blessings upon you. Namaste.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you, ladies. This has been so good.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
We'll see you
Have a
all next time.
wonderful week. Love you all.
God bless.